Zina, are you ready for class? Let's go. Amanda, please leave my room. I don't need your fake love. We have lectures today. Go to lectures alone. Don't you ever disturb me again. Zina, you are my sister and I love you so much. I don't need your love. Did this to me. Our parents loved only you because you are intelligent. Nobody noticed me in the house. I loved you, Zina. They buy you gifts all the time.
Welcome to Nenye Stories, where every stories have a powerful lesson to learn. Every story teaches something worth remembering. If this is the first time you are coming across Nenye Stories, please subscribe to this channel and on your notification for more interesting stories. Have you ever wondered how two sisters raised under the same roof, blessed with the same loving parents, and given the same opportunities could end up becoming complete opposites? One was admired for her kindness, discipline, and intelligence, while the other slowly allowed jealousy to grow inside her heart until it threatened to destroy the very person who loved her the most. This is not just another family story. It is a powerful tale of love, envy, betrayal, hope, forgiveness, and the unexpected ways life can change in a single moment. Amanda Williams, a brilliant 25-year-old university student whose hard work earned her the respect of everyone around her. But while Amanda celebrated every achievement with humility, someone much closer than she could ever imagine was secretly wishing for her downfall. That person was her own younger sister, 22-year-old Zina Williams. Behind her sweet smile and innocent appearance was a heart consumed by jealousy, determined to make sure Amanda would no longer be the daughter everyone admired. If someone who shared your blood betrayed your trust in the worst possible way, would you find the strength to forgive, or would you walk away forever? Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We would love to hear from you. The Williams family was the kind of family many people admired from a distance. Their luxurious mansion is located in one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in the city, surrounded by beautiful gardens, expensive cars, and a lifestyle that reflected years of hard work and success. Mr. Williams was a respected businessman whose name carried influence wherever he went, while his wife, Mrs. Rebecca Williams, was known for her elegance, discipline, and high expectations for her children. Although wealth was never a problem in their home, Mrs. Rebecca believed that true success came from character, education, and hard work rather than money alone. She often reminded her daughters that family wealth could disappear one day, but knowledge and integrity would remain forever. Her eldest daughter, Amanda Williams, was the perfect example of everything she believed in. At 25, Amanda had become one of the brightest students at her university. She never allowed her family's riches to make her arrogant or careless. Instead, she remained humble, respectful, and focused on her studies. Lecturers admired her dedication, classmates respected her intelligence, and many younger students looked up to her as someone worth emulating. Every excellent result she brought home filled the family with joy, and Mrs. Rebecca never hid how proud she was. Sometimes she surprised Amanda with thoughtful gifts, celebrated her achievements over dinner, and encouraged her to keep reaching for greater heights. Amanda accepted every compliment with gratitude, always insisting that success came from consistency and never from talent alone. Living under the same roof was Amanda's younger sister, Zina Williams, a 22-year-old university student whose priorities were completely different. While Amanda spent long evenings reading, preparing assignments, and planning for her future, Zina preferred luxury without effort. She loved designer clothes, expensive restaurants, glamorous parties, social media trends, and endless shopping sprees funded by her father's generosity. Books rarely held her attention for more than a few minutes before she reached for her phone to chat with friends or scroll through entertainment online. Mrs. Rebecca constantly tried to correct her, believing that firm words would motivate her to change, but every comparison between the sisters only deepened the distance growing inside Zina's heart. What their mother saw as encouragement, Zina heard as rejection. She began to believe that Amanda had stolen all the love, praise, and attention that should have been shared between them. The painful truth was that Amanda never saw her sister as a rival. She celebrated Zina's smallest achievements, defended her whenever their mother became too harsh, and often invited her to study together before examinations. Amanda truly wanted her younger sister to succeed, but each act of kindness was misunderstood. Instead of appreciating Amanda's support, Zina quietly convinced herself that her sister's success was the reason she always felt invisible. Unknown to everyone in the Williams family, that silent jealousy was beginning to grow into something far more dangerous, setting in motion events that would soon change their lives forever. The following weeks brought even more reasons for Amanda to be celebrated. At the university, her lecturers often used her assignments as examples of excellence, and her classmates admired not only her intelligence, but also her willingness to help anyone who struggled academically. Whenever group projects were assigned, everyone hoped Amanda would be on their team because she never looked down on anyone. Her reputation spread beyond her department, and students who had never met her spoke about the brilliant young woman from the Williams family whose humility matched her success. Back at home, every achievement became another proud moment for Mrs. Rebecca. She believed that recognizing Amanda's hard work would encourage both daughters to strive for excellence. One evening, after Amanda received another outstanding academic award, the family gathered around the dining table for a special dinner. Mrs. Rebecca presented Amanda with an elegant wristwatch as a reward for her dedication, praising her for proving that discipline always produces results. Mr. Williams smiled proudly, reminding both daughters that education was the greatest investment any young person could make. Amanda accepted the gift with her usual modesty and thanked her parents, saying that she would continue working hard to make the family proud. She even turned to Zina with a warm smile and encouraged her, saying she believed they would both celebrate great achievements together someday. Those words were spoken sincerely, but they landed differently in Zina's heart. Instead of hearing encouragement, she heard another reminder that Amanda remained the center of attention. As everyone laughed and enjoyed the evening, Zina forced a smile that fooled everyone at the table. Deep inside, however, a quiet bitterness was beginning to replace the affection she once had for her elder sister. From that day forward, Zina became an expert at pretending. In front of her parents, she behaved like a caring younger sister who admired Amanda's success. But whenever she was alone, she replayed every compliment Amanda received until it filled her with resentment. She stopped listening whenever Amanda offered to help her prepare for examinations, always finding an excuse to leave the room or bury herself in her phone. Her grades continued to decline, yet she refused to accept responsibility, convincing herself that Amanda's success was the reason she constantly felt overshadowed. Mrs. Rebecca's repeated comparisons only made matters worse, even though her intention was to motivate Zina rather than discourage her. Amanda remained completely unaware of the growing storm. She continued buying small gifts for her sister, sharing lecture notes, and defending her whenever their mother became too harsh. She believed that love and patience could mend any misunderstanding between siblings. Unfortunately, jealousy rarely disappears on its own when it is left unchecked. It quietly grows in silence, feeding on comparison and pride until it changes the way a person sees the people closest to them. Unknown to Amanda, Zina had begun to think less about improving herself and more about finding ways to make Amanda lose the admiration she enjoyed. She convinced herself that if Amanda stopped being everyone's favorite, life would finally become fair. That dangerous way of thinking marked the beginning of a series of choices that would test the Williams family in ways none of them could have imagined, drawing them closer to a heartbreaking turning point from which their lives would never be the same again. Days turned into weeks, and the contrast between the two sisters became even more noticeable. Every morning, Amanda woke up before sunrise, reviewed her notes, attended lectures punctually, and carefully planned every hour of her day. She believed that success was never an accident, but the result of consistent effort and discipline. Even with her demanding schedule, she always found time for her family. She often checked on her parents, helped organize things around the house, and never forgot to ask Zina if she needed anything before leaving for the university. Zina, on the other hand, lived as though every day was meant for entertainment. She loved sleeping late, spending hours on social media, visiting expensive cafes with friends, and shopping for the latest designer outfits. Whenever examinations approached, she promised herself she would begin studying the next day, but that day rarely came. Her lecturers had started noticing her declining performance, while some of her classmates quietly whispered that she depended more on her family's wealth than on her own determination. Those comments hurt Zina deeply, but instead of changing her habits, she blamed Amanda for setting a standard she believed she could never match. Whenever students greeted Amanda with admiration across the university campus, Zina felt as though every smile directed at her sister stole a little more of her own happiness. She became convinced that as long as Amanda continued shining, she would forever remain in her shadow. It was a painful belief that slowly hardened her heart, making it more difficult for her to appreciate the genuine love her family continued to show her. Amanda noticed the growing distance between them and refused to give up on her younger sister. One afternoon after lectures, she invited Zina to a quiet coffee shop near the university, hoping they could spend time together, away from the pressures of home. Amanda spoke with kindness, reminding her that everyone learns at a different pace and that there was still plenty of time to improve. She offered to become Zina's study partner and even suggested creating a timetable they could follow together before the next round of examinations. Amanda's words came from a place of sincere love, but Zina barely listened. She smiled politely throughout the conversation, thanked her sister, and acted as though everything was fine. The moment they left the cafe, however, the bitterness returned. She convinced herself that Amanda's kindness was simply another way of proving she was better than everyone else. Unknown to Amanda, Zina had begun wearing two different faces, one filled with warmth whenever people were watching, and another consumed by silent resentment whenever she was alone. The people around them saw two loving sisters from a respected family, never realizing that one of them was quietly allowing envy to control her decisions. As the semester moved closer to its most important examinations, the Williams family had no idea that the greatest challenge before them would not come from the university at all, but from a secret growing inside their own home. As the semester drew closer to its final examinations, the atmosphere inside the Williams mansion became noticeably different. Amanda spent even more time preparing for her tests, often studying late into the night, with stacks of books spread neatly across her desk. Despite the pressure, she remained cheerful and never allowed stress to change the way she treated the people around her. Every morning, she wished the house staff a good day before leaving for the university, and every evening, she asked her parents about their day before returning to her studies. Mrs. Rebecca watched her eldest daughter with growing pride, believing Amanda was becoming the kind of woman every parent prayed to raise. She often told relatives that discipline, humility, and consistency were the true secrets behind Amanda's success. Those words, though meant as praise, landed heavily on Zina's heart each time she overheard them. She began avoiding family dinners whenever Amanda's achievements became the topic of conversation. Even when she sat at the table, she hardly contributed, forcing smiles while quietly wishing the conversation would end. Mr. Williams noticed the tension, but assumed it was simply the normal rivalry that sometimes existed between siblings. He encouraged both daughters equally, reminding them that life was never a competition. Amanda agreed with him completely and even praised Zina whenever she made the smallest effort to improve. Unfortunately, Zina no longer saw those compliments as encouragement. In her mind, every kind gesture from Amanda felt like another reminder that she could never measure up. Without realizing it, she was allowing comparison to steal her peace, and the more she compared herself to her sister, the more isolated she felt inside a home that had always loved her. At the university, Amanda's reputation continued to grow after she was selected to represent her faculty in an important academic competition. Students celebrated the announcement, lecturers congratulated her, and even the university's official social media pages featured her achievement. The news quickly spread across campus, making Amanda one of the most admired students of the semester. She accepted every congratulation with humility, thanking everyone who supported her and insisting that hard work was something anyone could achieve with determination. When she returned home carrying the certificate she had received during the ceremony, Mrs. Rebecca embraced her with tears of joy and surprised her with another thoughtful gift to celebrate the milestone. Standing nearby, Zina applauded with everyone else, hiding the disappointment that was building inside her. She congratulated Amanda with a warm smile that convinced everyone she was genuinely happy. But once she was alone in her room, her expression changed completely. She stared at the family photographs on her wall, noticing how often Amanda stood proudly at the center of every celebration. For the first time, she whispered to herself that things had to change. Instead of asking how she could become a better version of herself, she became determined to make Amanda lose the admiration that surrounded her. It was a quiet decision made in the privacy of her room, unseen by anyone else, but it marked the moment when jealousy began influencing every thought she had. Amanda remained focused on her studies and continued living by the values her parents had taught her since childhood. She believed that success meant very little if it was not accompanied by kindness, so she treated everyone with respect, regardless of their background. Whether it was a security guard at the university gate, a cleaner in the lecture halls, or a first-year student struggling to find a classroom, Amanda never hesitated to stop and help. Her kindness made people admire her even more, and before long, she became one of the most respected students on campus. Whenever there was an academic seminar, leadership program, or student development event, Amanda's name was among the first to be recommended. Her lecturers often described her as a young woman with a bright future, while fellow students appreciated her willingness to share knowledge instead of competing unfairly. At home, Mrs. Rebecca couldn't hide her happiness whenever she heard another good report about her eldest daughter. She believed she was simply encouraging excellence, but she never realized that every word of praise sounded like another painful comparison in Zina's ears. Amanda, unaware of the silent battle within her sister, continued doing everything possible to make her feel included. She invited Zina to join family outings, encouraged her to attend university workshops, and even surprised her with small gifts bought from her own savings. Amanda genuinely believed that love could heal every misunderstanding, never imagining that each act of kindness was being interpreted in a completely different way. Zina's heart, however, was becoming heavier with every passing day. She had reached a point where she no longer celebrated Amanda's achievements, even in private. Instead, she spent hours thinking about how unfair life seemed, convincing herself that everyone admired Amanda because she always appeared perfect. Rather than working on her own weaknesses, she became obsessed with finding flaws in her sister, hoping that one day people would stop speaking so highly of her. Whenever relatives visited the Williams mansion, they naturally asked Amanda about her studies and congratulated her on her latest accomplishments before turning to encourage Zina to become more serious about her education. Although their words were meant with love, Zina accepted them as personal insults. She smiled politely until the guests left, then locked herself in her room, where frustration slowly turned into determination. From that moment, she made a quiet promise to herself that she would no longer sit back and watch Amanda remain the family's pride. She wanted attention, recognition, and praise, but instead of earning them through hard work, she began thinking about ways to damage Amanda's spotless reputation. She carefully hid these thoughts behind a cheerful face, laughing with her parents, hugging Amanda, and pretending everything was normal whenever people were watching. No one suspected that the warm smiles she displayed each day were hiding a growing resentment that threatened to tear the Williams family apart. Little did they know that the next unexpected event would push that hidden jealousy even closer to a point of no return. A new month began, bringing fresh opportunities for every student on campus. The university was preparing for its annual Excellence and Leadership Week, one of the biggest academic events of the year. Students from different faculties looked forward to the competitions, seminars, and award ceremonies that attracted respected professionals from across the country. Once again, Amanda's name appeared among the selected student representatives because of her outstanding academic record and excellent character. Her lecturers trusted her, and many students believed she deserved every opportunity that came her way. Amanda never allowed the recognition to change her attitude. She continued helping classmates who struggled with difficult courses and often stayed behind after lectures to explain topics to anyone who needed assistance. Even students from other departments sought her advice because they admired her patience and humility. Back at home, Mrs. Rebecca proudly shared the news with friends and relatives, expressing how grateful she was to see her daughter making the family name proud. Mr. Williams, though occupied with business meetings, always made time to encourage Amanda, reminding her to remain humble no matter how successful she became. Amanda appreciated every word of encouragement, but she never forgot her younger sister. She sincerely wished Zina would discover her own passion and experience the same joy that came from working hard. Every evening, Amanda invited her to sit beside her during study hours, promising to help her prepare for upcoming examinations. Unfortunately, Zina always found another excuse to leave the room. She preferred scrolling through her phone or chatting with friends. Yet deep inside, she couldn't stop thinking about why life seemed to reward Amanda so effortlessly. Instead of recognizing the years of discipline behind Amanda's success, she convinced herself that fate had simply chosen one sister over the other. As jealousy quietly settled deeper into Zina's heart, she became increasingly skilled at hiding her true emotions. Whenever Amanda returned home with another certificate or received another congratulatory message, Zina was always the first to clap, smile, and offer a warm embrace. Mrs. Rebecca often praised the sisters for supporting one another, believing their bond had grown stronger over time. Amanda also believed her younger sister had finally accepted her encouragement, and that thought filled her with happiness. She even began making plans to celebrate Zina's next birthday with a surprise she had been saving for months, hoping it would remind her how deeply she was loved. But behind Zina's convincing smile, another story was unfolding. Every compliment Amanda received echoed repeatedly in her mind until it became impossible for her to think about anything else. She started keeping track of every moment Amanda was admired, comparing it with her own disappointments, and allowing bitterness to shape the way she viewed her family. Rather than asking herself how she could improve, she focused on one troubling belief, that as long as Amanda remained successful, she would never feel important. That dangerous mindset slowly became the center of her thoughts, blinding her to the unconditional love that still surrounded her. The Williams family continued living under the same roof, sharing meals, laughter, and celebrations, completely unaware that one person's silent envy was growing stronger with every passing day. They had no idea that a single decision, born from that hidden resentment, would soon set off a chain of events that would test their love, their faith, and the strength of their family like never before. The excitement surrounding the university's Excellence and Leadership Week grew stronger with each passing day. Banners decorated the campus, students rehearsed presentations, and lecturers worked tirelessly to prepare for the prestigious event. Amanda had been selected to deliver a speech on the importance of discipline and perseverance, a responsibility she accepted with humility. She spent several evenings carefully preparing her presentation, determined to inspire younger students who dreamed of achieving academic success. When the day finally arrived, the auditorium was filled to capacity. Students, lecturers, parents, and invited guests listened attentively as Amanda shared her journey, explaining that true success was built through consistency, patience, and respect for others. Her words touched many hearts, and when she finished, the entire hall erupted in applause. Several lecturers stood to congratulate her, while students gathered around to take photographs and thank her for the encouragement she had given them. Even the Vice-Chancellor publicly commended her for representing the university with excellence. News of the event quickly spread across social media, and by evening, Amanda's speech had become one of the most talked about moments on campus. Back at the Williams mansion, Mrs. Rebecca watched the videos with tears of pride. She thanked God for Amanda's achievements and proudly showed the clips to family friends who had come to visit. Mr. Williams smiled as he reminded everyone that his greatest joy was not Amanda's awards, but the humility she displayed despite her success. Amanda quietly thanked her parents and insisted that their guidance was the real reason she had come this far. She never noticed the brief glance Zina gave her from across the room, a glance that disappeared the moment anyone looked in her direction. That night, after everyone had retired to their rooms, Zina sat alone on the balcony overlooking the glittering city skyline. The bright lights that usually filled her with excitement brought her no comfort. Her mind replayed the applause Amanda had received, the endless compliments from relatives, and the admiration she enjoyed everywhere she went. For the first time, Zina admitted to herself that her jealousy had become stronger than her happiness. She no longer found joy in shopping, parties, or expensive gifts because none of those things earned her the respect Amanda received so effortlessly. Yet instead of asking herself what she could learn from her sister, she convinced herself that Amanda's success had become the reason she felt invisible. Unknown to everyone else, Zina quietly began looking for ways to separate Amanda from the spotlight without raising suspicion. She didn't want anyone to know what was going on in her heart, so she continued acting like the loving younger sister everyone believed she was. She laughed with Amanda during breakfast, complimented her in front of their parents, and even offered to help organize some of Amanda's study materials. Amanda appreciated the unexpected kindness, believing her sister was finally opening her heart. She felt hopeful that the tension between them was fading. But while Amanda was celebrating what she believed was the beginning of a stronger sisterly bond, Zina was secretly making decisions that would change the course of both their lives. Without realizing it, the Williams family was moving closer to a season of heartbreak that none of them could have imagined, and the first signs of that painful chapter were already beginning to unfold. A few days after the university event, life at the Williams mansion appeared more peaceful than it had been in months. Amanda was delighted to see Zina becoming unusually warm and attentive. For the first time in a long while, the sisters shared breakfast together almost every morning, laughed over childhood memories, and even drove to the university in the same car. Mrs. Rebecca noticed the change immediately and silently thanked God that her daughters finally seemed to be rebuilding their relationship. Mr. Williams was equally pleased, believing that time had healed whatever misunderstanding had existed between them. Amanda's heart was full of hope.
She had always dreamed of having a close friendship with her younger sister, and now it seemed that dream was slowly becoming reality. Whenever classmates invited Amanda to lunch after lectures, she often included Zina, introducing her proudly as my amazing younger sister. Amanda never missed an opportunity to encourage Zina in front of others, praising her creativity and reminding everyone that success came in different forms. Those sincere compliments surprised many people because Amanda never tried to make herself appear more important than anyone else. Even some of Zina's classmates began telling her how fortunate she was to have such a caring sister. Zina smiled and thanked them politely, carefully playing the role everyone expected. Deep inside, however, she continued measuring herself against Amanda, and every compliment directed at her sister quietly reopened the wound she refused to heal. The more Amanda trusted her, the more complicated Zina's emotions became. Yet instead of choosing honesty, she continued hiding behind a convincing smile that no one questioned. Amanda's heart overflowed with joy, believing their relationship had finally become stronger than ever. But as they walked across the busy university campus, surrounded by students rushing to lectures and the towering buildings that reflected the city's vibrant energy, Zina's smile slowly faded the moment Amanda looked away. She watched her sister greeting lecturers, classmates, and university staff with the same kindness that had made everyone admire her. At that very moment, Zina realized Amanda's influence was only growing stronger, and the thought unsettled her more than ever before. Without saying a word to anyone, she quietly convinced herself that unless something changed, Amanda would continue becoming the pride of the family while she remained forgotten. That silent conclusion became another step toward a future neither sister could yet imagine, as the calm that surrounded the Williams family slowly gave way to an approaching storm. The following weekend, the Williams family hosted a small dinner at their mansion to celebrate Amanda's latest achievement. Close relatives, family friends, and a few of Mr. Williams' business associates gathered in the beautifully decorated dining hall, filling the house with laughter and warm conversations. Everyone had something kind to say about Amanda. Some admired her intelligence, others praised her humility, while a few encouraged her to continue representing the family with excellence wherever life took her. Amanda accepted every compliment with her usual modesty, insisting that she still had so much to learn. She made sure Zina was included in every conversation, introducing her proudly and encouraging guests to ask about her interests instead. Amanda never wanted her younger sister to feel left out. Mrs. Rebecca watched with a smile, believing that her daughters were finally growing closer. Throughout the evening, Zina played her part perfectly. She laughed, served refreshments to the guests, and stood beside Amanda in family photographs as though nothing had ever been wrong between them. Everyone who attended the gathering left with the impression that the Williams sisters shared an unbreakable bond. But after the last guest departed and the lights in the mansion grew dim, the applause, admiration, and endless praise Amanda had received echoed once again in Zina's mind. She stood quietly by her bedroom window, staring at the glowing city skyline, asking herself the same question she had been avoiding for months. Why did every celebration in the Williams family always seem to revolve around Amanda? The question lingered in her heart, growing heavier with every passing day. Meanwhile, Amanda remained completely unaware of the battle taking place inside her sister. She was already thinking about the future and how she could help Zina discover her own strengths. A few days later, she visited a well-known bookstore after lectures and bought several beautifully designed study guides, motivational books, and a personalized journal with Zina's name embossed on the cover. Amanda believed the thoughtful gift would encourage her sister to take her education more seriously without making her feel pressured. That evening, she placed the gift neatly on Zina's bed with a handwritten note that read, I believe in you more than you know. Your journey is different from mine, but I know you can achieve great things if you never give up. When Zina returned home and opened the package, she remained silent for several moments. Part of her heart was touched by Amanda's kindness, and for the briefest moment she wondered if she had been unfair all along. But the feeling quickly disappeared when she remembered all the moments Amanda had been praised while she had been corrected. Instead of accepting the gift as an expression of love, she convinced herself it was another reminder that Amanda always appeared wiser and more successful. She carefully placed the books back into the box, forced a grateful smile when Amanda entered the room, and thanked her warmly. Amanda walked away believing she had finally reached her sister's heart. Sadly, she never realized that Zina's smile was hiding emotions she could no longer control. As another busy week at the university approached, the new week arrived with a sense of excitement across the university campus. Students hurried from one lecture hall to another, preparing for presentations, projects, and the approaching examinations that would determine their final grades. Amanda remained as focused as ever. She balanced her studies with mentoring younger students who admired her dedication, never expecting anything in return. Many people wondered how someone from such a wealthy family could remain so humble, but Amanda always gave the same answer. She believed that a person's true value was measured by character, not by the size of a bank account. Her lecturers continued to recommend her for leadership opportunities, and every new achievement strengthened the confidence others had in her. At home, Mrs. Rebecca noticed that Amanda never allowed success to make her proud. She still greeted every member of the household warmly, thanked the staff for their hard work, and always invited Zina to join her whenever she was working on something important. Amanda sincerely believed that one day her younger sister would discover her own purpose and begin chasing her dreams with the same determination. Mr. Williams admired both daughters in different ways. Although he often celebrated Amanda's accomplishments, he never stopped encouraging Zina, reminding her that life was not a race and that every person had their own season to shine. Unfortunately, those reassuring words were no longer enough to calm the storm growing inside Zina. She had become so consumed by comparison that she could no longer recognize the genuine love surrounding her. Instead of appreciating the opportunities her parents continued to provide, she spent more time watching Amanda, quietly convincing herself that every compliment directed at her sister somehow took something away from her own life. One afternoon, Amanda received another piece of wonderful news that filled the entire Williams family with excitement. She had advanced to the final stage of the prestigious International Academic Exchange Program, bringing her one step closer to representing both her university and her country. The announcement spread quickly across campus, and friends gathered around to congratulate her once again. Amanda accepted every handshake and every kind word with gratitude, but the first person she wanted to tell was still Zina. She called her younger sister immediately, her voice filled with happiness, asking if they could celebrate together after classes. Zina congratulated her warmly over the phone, sounding just as excited as everyone else. When they met later that evening, Amanda embraced her tightly and spoke about all the dreams they could achieve together in the future. She even promised that if she was selected for the program, she would use the experience to inspire Zina and help her discover new opportunities of her own. Amanda's words came straight from her heart, but they only deepened the conflict inside Zina. For a brief moment, guilt crept into her thoughts as she looked at the sister who had never treated her as an enemy. Yet, instead of admitting how deeply jealousy had affected her, Zina buried those feelings beneath another convincing smile. She decided that no one, not even Amanda, would ever know what was truly happening inside her heart. Amanda truly believed their relationship was growing stronger, and that thought brought her genuine happiness. Mrs. Rebecca also noticed the apparent closeness between her daughters and began speaking with renewed optimism. She told Mr. Williams that perhaps the difficult season was finally behind them. Even family friends who visited the mansion commented on how united the sisters appeared. Amanda and Zina smiled together in photographs, chatted during dinner, and occasionally arrived at university in the same car. To everyone watching, they looked like sisters whose bond had become stronger than ever. But while Amanda saw healing, Zina saw something completely different. Every act of kindness from Amanda reminded her of the guilt she refused to acknowledge, and instead of softening her heart, she continued convincing herself that Amanda's popularity was the reason she always felt overlooked. Rather than facing her own choices, she blamed her unhappiness on the person who loved her most. One afternoon, the university announced that Amanda had been selected as the valedictorian for her graduating class because of her outstanding academic performance, leadership, and positive influence on fellow students. The news spread across campus within hours, and congratulatory messages poured in from lecturers, classmates, alumni, and even people who had never spoken to her personally. When Amanda arrived home, she was surprised to find the mansion beautifully decorated. Mr. Williams had organized a small family celebration, while Mrs. Rebecca had prepared Amanda's favorite meal. As everyone gathered around the dining table, Amanda thanked her parents for believing in her from childhood and promised never to take their sacrifices for granted. Then, in a moment that surprised everyone, she stood up, walked over to Zina, and publicly thanked her as well. Amanda explained that having a younger sister had taught her patience, compassion, and the importance of never giving up on the people you love. She hugged Zina tightly, unaware that her heartfelt words were stirring emotions Zina could barely control. For a brief moment, tears filled Zina's eyes. Not because she was happy, but because she realized Amanda had never stopped loving her, despite the resentment she had quietly carried for so long. Still, instead of confessing the jealousy that had been growing inside her, Zina hid her feelings behind another smile and another embrace. That night, long after everyone had gone to bed, she stood alone by her bedroom window, staring at the lights of the city below. She knew she had reached a crossroads. She could either let go of the envy that had poisoned her heart, or continue walking down a path that would bring pain to everyone she loved. Without realizing it, the choice she was about to make would become the turning point in the Williams family story, leading them toward a future none of them could yet foresee. The next morning, the Williams mansion was filled with its usual rhythm. Mr. Williams left early for an important business meeting, while Mrs. Rebecca busied herself with plans for Amanda's upcoming graduation ceremony. She wanted the celebration to reflect not just Amanda's academic excellence, but also the values she believed had shaped her daughter's character. Amanda, as always, insisted that the event should remain simple, explaining that she would rather invest in her future than spend lavishly on one day of celebration. Her humility only made her parents admire her more. Before leaving for the university, Amanda knocked gently on Zina's bedroom door and invited her to have breakfast together. Zina accepted, surprising everyone at the table with her cheerful mood. She laughed at her father's jokes, complimented her mother's cooking, and even asked Amanda about her graduation plans. Mrs. Rebecca exchanged a hopeful glance with her husband, believing that the tension between the sisters had finally disappeared. Amanda's heart overflowed with relief. She had prayed for this moment for a long time and genuinely believed her younger sister had found peace within herself. As they drove to the university together, Amanda spoke excitedly about the future, encouraging Zina to set new goals and reminding her that one disappointing semester did not define an entire life. She told her that everyone had their own journey and that comparison only stole the joy of becoming the person God created them to be. Zina listened quietly, nodding from time to time, but her silence carried thoughts she was not ready to share. Outwardly, she looked like a sister who had finally embraced Amanda's love. Inwardly, however, she remained trapped between admiration and resentment, unable to decide which feeling would ultimately shape her future. Later that afternoon, the university hosted a leadership forum attended by students, lecturers, and invited guests from several respected organizations. Amanda was one of the keynote student speakers, delivering another inspiring message about perseverance, integrity, and using success to uplift others instead of competing against them. Her words earned a standing ovation, and several guests approached her afterward with internship opportunities and offers to stay in touch professionally. Amanda accepted each conversation with gratitude, making sure to acknowledge her lecturers and classmates who had supported her along the way. Watching from a distance, Zina noticed something she had never truly seen before. People were not drawn to Amanda because she was perfect, they were drawn to her because she made others feel valued. Amanda celebrated other people's victories just as sincerely as her own, and that was the quality everyone admired most. On the drive home, Amanda excitedly talked about the forum and mentioned that she wanted the sisters to spend more time together after graduation, hoping they could build memories that would last a lifetime. Zina smiled and agreed, while quietly wondering whether she still had the courage to change the direction of her own life before the consequences of her bitterness became impossible to escape. As graduation week finally arrived, bringing an atmosphere of excitement to the entire university. Colorful banners decorated the campus. Families traveled from different cities to celebrate their loved ones, and every student looked forward to the next chapter of life. Amanda's name was once again on everyone's lips. She had graduated with outstanding honors, and the university announced that she would deliver the farewell address on behalf of the graduating class. When Amanda stepped onto the stage in her graduation gown, she looked across the sea of smiling faces and spoke from the heart. She thanked her parents for teaching her that success without humility had no real value. She thanked her lecturers for believing in her potential and encouraged her fellow graduates to remember that true greatness was measured not by wealth or fame, but by the lives they touched. By the time she finished speaking, the audience rose to their feet in a long-standing ovation. Mrs. Rebecca wiped away tears of joy, while Mr. Williams proudly applauded beside her. Even many parents who had never met Amanda personally walked over to congratulate the Williams family, praising the values they had instilled in their daughter. Amanda accepted every compliment with the same gentle smile she had always worn, then walked straight to Zina and hugged her tightly. She whispered that one day they would both make their parents proud in different ways. Those words were sincere, but as everyone celebrated, Zina felt as though the distance between them had somehow become even greater. She smiled for the graduation photographs, yet behind that smile, her heart remained restless, filled with emotions she could no longer understand. That evening, the Williams mansion came alive with another celebration. Friends, relatives, business associates, and neighbors filled the luxurious home, congratulating Amanda on her remarkable achievement. The dining hall echoed with laughter as guests shared stories about Amanda's kindness, discipline, and willingness to help others. More than once, people turned to Zina and encouraged her by saying they believed she too had a bright future if she remained focused. Although their words were spoken with genuine affection, Zina heard them as another comparison she could not escape. She quietly excused herself from the gathering and stepped onto the balcony overlooking the sparkling city lights. For the first time, she admitted that the real battle was no longer with Amanda, but with the bitterness growing inside her own heart. She remembered every opportunity Amanda had given her, every invitation to study together, every thoughtful gift, and every moment her sister had defended her before their mother. A small voice inside urged her to let go of the resentment before it destroyed the family she loved. Yet another voice reminded her of the years she had spent feeling invisible whenever Amanda was praised. Torn between those two emotions, Zina returned to the party wearing the same convincing smile everyone had come to trust. Amanda welcomed her back warmly, completely unaware of the struggle taking place behind her sister's eyes. No one realized that the choices Zina would make in the days ahead would determine whether the Williams family grew even stronger or faced the most painful season of their lives. The celebration at the Williams mansion became one of the most talked about family gatherings of the season. By the following morning, photographs from Amanda's graduation had spread across social media, with thousands of congratulatory messages pouring in from former classmates, lecturers, family friends, and well-wishers. Several newspapers even featured a short article highlighting the university's top graduates, and Amanda's picture appeared alongside a story about perseverance and academic excellence. Mrs. Rebecca proudly kept copies of the newspaper on the living room table, while Mr. Williams joked that he would need a bigger photo frame because their daughter had given the family another unforgettable reason to celebrate. Amanda remained unchanged by the attention. She thanked everyone who called or visited and spent part of her afternoon replying to messages of encouragement. She never boasted about her achievements or made anyone feel less important. Instead, she used every opportunity to encourage younger students to remain focused on their education. Meanwhile, Zina watched everything unfold from a distance. She noticed how effortlessly Amanda inspired people without even trying. Relatives spoke about Amanda with admiration. University students continued sharing her graduation speech online, and neighbors stopped by the mansion simply to congratulate the family. Each new compliment reopened the same wound in Zina's heart. Although she smiled politely whenever someone mentioned Amanda, she felt increasingly trapped by the belief that she would always be remembered as Amanda's younger sister, instead of being appreciated for who she was. The thought followed her everywhere, refusing to leave her mind, even when she tried to distract herself with shopping, music, or long conversations with friends. A few days later, Amanda received an invitation to attend the final interview for the International Academic Exchange program she had worked so hard to earn. The interview would take place in another part of the city, and successful candidates would be announced shortly afterward. Mrs. Rebecca was overjoyed and immediately began helping Amanda prepare the documents she would need, while Mr. Williams reminded her to remain confident and simply be herself. Amanda thanked her parents before walking to Zina's room with a bright smile. She excitedly shared the news and asked her younger sister to wish her good luck. Without hesitation, Zina hugged Amanda warmly and assured her that everything would go well. Amanda left the room feeling grateful, convinced that her sister genuinely believed in her. After Amanda walked away, however, Zina remained seated in silence for several minutes. She looked around her luxurious bedroom and reflected on how different her life had become from the future she once imagined for herself. She knew she had reached another important crossroads. She could finally accept responsibility for her own choices and begin rebuilding her future, or she could continue allowing envy to shape every decision she made. The answer did not come immediately. The morning of Amanda's interview arrived with a mixture of excitement and quiet anticipation. Long before the sun fully illuminated the city's skyline, Amanda was already awake, reviewing her documents one final time. Mrs. Rebecca prepared breakfast herself, insisting that no daughter of hers should leave the house on such an important day without eating properly. Mr. Williams, despite an unusually busy schedule, delayed his first meeting just long enough to wish Amanda success. He reminded her that whether she was selected or not, the family was already proud of the woman she had become. Amanda smiled gratefully and embraced both of her parents before turning to Zina. With the same warmth she had always shown, she hugged her younger sister and said, "Keep believing in yourself. Your own season will come." Zina smiled and wished her good luck, and Amanda left the mansion, believing their relationship had finally become everything she had prayed for. The interview went exceptionally well. The panel members were impressed not only by Amanda's academic achievements, but also by her humility, leadership, and desire to use education to make a positive difference. When she stepped out of the interview hall, she felt relieved rather than anxious. She immediately called her parents to let them know everything had gone smoothly. Mrs. Rebecca thanked God over the phone, while Mr. Williams promised they would celebrate together that evening. Amanda also tried calling Zina, but her younger sister did not answer. Assuming she was busy, Amanda simply sent her a cheerful message saying, "It went well. I can't wait to tell you everything when I get home." She had no idea that, while she was celebrating a successful day, Zina was fighting a different battle inside her own heart. Back at the Williams mansion, Zina wandered from room to room, unable to settle her thoughts. She picked up one of the motivational books Amanda had given her weeks earlier and absent-mindedly flipped through its pages. A handwritten note slipped out and landed on the floor. She bent down to pick it up and slowly read Amanda's familiar words once again. "I believe in you more than you know. Your journey is different from mine, but I know you can achieve great things if you never give up." For a long moment, Zina stood completely still. Those simple words stirred emotions she had spent months trying to ignore. She remembered Amanda defending her whenever Mrs. Rebecca became too critical, buying her thoughtful gifts without expecting anything in return, and constantly reminding everyone that she believed in her younger sister's potential. Guilt began pressing heavily on her conscience, but pride refused to let her admit how wrong she had been. Instead of opening up to Amanda or seeking forgiveness, she buried those feelings once again behind silence. When Amanda finally returned home that evening, she walked into the mansion with the same bright smile that always lit up the house. She excitedly shared stories about the interview, thanked her parents for their unwavering support, and eagerly included Zina in every conversation. The family laughed together over dinner, believing they were enjoying another peaceful evening. Yet beneath the laughter, one heart remained deeply unsettled. Zina knew she could no longer continue pretending forever. Sooner or later, she would have to choose between holding onto the jealousy that had poisoned her life or embracing the truth that could finally set her free. Some days passed with an unusual sense of calm, almost as though life had paused to give the Williams family a chance to breathe. Amanda resumed her normal routine, dividing her time between volunteering at the university, preparing for the next stage of her career, and spending more time with her family. Graduation had brought her countless opportunities, but she remained the same young woman everyone admired. She still greeted the security guards by name whenever she visited campus, still encouraged younger students who were worried about their future, and still believed that success meant very little if it was not used to lift someone else. Mrs. Rebecca watched her eldest daughter with quiet satisfaction, often telling Mr. Williams that Amanda had become the living proof that discipline and humility could exist alongside wealth. Yet, as proud as she was of Amanda, she had also begun paying closer attention to Zina. She noticed moments when her younger daughter became unusually quiet whenever Amanda was praised. At first, she dismissed it as disappointment over Zina's own academic struggles, but a mother's heart rarely ignored small changes for long. She gently tried to draw Zina into conversations about her dreams, asking what she truly wanted to achieve in life. Zina answered with brief smiles and vague promises that she would figure things out soon. Although her words sounded reassuring, her eyes carried a heaviness that Mrs. Rebecca could not explain. Amanda also sensed that something was troubling her sister, so she suggested they spend a weekend together shopping, watching movies, and talking without the pressure of school or family expectations. She wanted Zina to know that no matter what happened, she would always have a sister who believed in her. One afternoon, she was invited back to campus to mentor final year students preparing for their own graduation. Standing in the same lecture hall where she had once sat as a nervous first-year student, Amanda spoke about resilience, patience, and the importance of defining success by personal growth rather than comparison. Her message deeply resonated with the audience, and many students remained behind after the session simply to thank her for giving them hope. Unknown to Amanda, Zina had quietly arrived on campus to surprise her. From a distance, she watched students surrounding her sister with admiration and gratitude. Instead of walking over, she remained hidden for several minutes, observing something she had spent years refusing to see. Amanda was not admired because she sought attention. She was admired because she consistently gave people reasons to believe in themselves. That realization unsettled Zina more than ever before. For the first time, she wondered whether she had spent months fighting the wrong battle. The problem had never been Amanda's success. The problem was that jealousy had blinded her to her own potential. Yet, even as that truth began to settle into her heart, another part of her struggled to let go of the resentment she had carried for so long. As the sisters drove home together beneath the glowing lights of the city, neither of them realized that the choices made over the coming days would shape the future of the Williams family forever. Amanda's interview was finally over, and life slowly returned to its normal routine. A few days later, Zina walked into Amanda's room, wearing the warmest smile she had shown in months. She told Amanda that she had discovered a very important opportunity in another town, explaining that someone she knew wanted to meet Amanda about a prestigious career opportunity that could open even greater doors after graduation. Amanda had never had a reason to doubt her younger sister, especially after believing their relationship had improved over the past few months. She trusted Zina completely. Excited by the possibility of helping her future, Amanda agreed to accompany her without informing their parents, thinking it would simply be a quick trip before returning home. They traveled for several hours until they reached a town Amanda had never visited before. The unfamiliar streets, busy roads, and strange surroundings made her slightly uncomfortable, but she remained calm, because she believed Zina knew exactly where they were going. After walking for some time, Zina suddenly told Amanda to wait near a public area, claiming she needed to meet someone briefly before bringing them together. Amanda nodded without suspicion. Unknown to Amanda, however, Zina quietly walked away carrying both her own phone and Amanda's phone, which Amanda had earlier handed to her for safekeeping during the journey. Minutes turned into hours, but Zina never returned. Amanda searched the surrounding area, asking passers-by if they had seen her sister, but no one could help. As evening approached, fear slowly replaced hope. Amanda realized she had been left alone in a place she did not know, without any way to contact her parents or find her way back home. While Amanda struggled to understand what had happened, Zina had already returned to the Williams mansion alone. The moment Mrs. Rebecca asked where Amanda was, Zina pretended to be confused. She claimed that the sisters had separated after leaving the university earlier in the day and insisted she had been trying unsuccessfully to reach Amanda ever since. Panic immediately filled the house. Mr. Williams began calling Amanda repeatedly, only to discover that her phone was unreachable. Mrs. Rebecca's hands trembled as she contacted relatives, friends, classmates, and lecturers, hoping someone had seen her eldest daughter. Before long, the entire family was searching desperately for Amanda. Reports were made, announcements were shared, and everyone prayed that she would return safely. Throughout the confusion, Zina cried alongside her parents, pretending to be just as frightened as everyone else. She comforted her mother, wiped away her own fake tears, and repeatedly said she believed Amanda would come home soon. Deep inside, however, she convinced herself that Amanda would never find her way back. She believed the chapter of constant comparisons, endless praise, and feeling invisible had finally come to an end. But life often unfolds in ways no one expects. Alone in a town far from home, Amanda refused to lose hope. Though exhausted, frightened, and uncertain about what tomorrow would bring, she held on to the belief that somehow, someday, she would see her family again. Little did she know that her greatest blessing was about to arrive in the form of a compassionate stranger whose kindness would change the course of her life forever. Amanda spent her first night in the unfamiliar town with a heart full of fear and unanswered questions. She could not understand why Zina had disappeared without saying a word. At first, she convinced herself that something unexpected must have happened and that her sister would return at any moment. She waited for hours in the same place, watching people come and go as the bright afternoon slowly faded into a cold evening. One by one, the shops around her closed, the streets became quieter, and reality finally began to sink in. She had no phone, no money, no idea where she was, and no way of contacting her family. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she remembered her parents, wondering how worried they must be. Amanda prayed silently, asking God to protect her and guide her home. The next morning, she walked through the unfamiliar streets, hoping to recognize something, but every road looked the same. She politely approached a few people for help, explaining that she had become separated from her family, but without knowing the exact location or having any way to prove where she came from. No one could do much for her. Meanwhile, back at the Williams mansion, the atmosphere had completely changed. The once joyful home was now filled with fear and sorrow. Mrs. Rebecca could barely eat or sleep, blaming herself for allowing Amanda to leave the house that day without knowing where she was going. Mr. Williams suspended several business meetings and devoted all his time to searching for his daughter. He contacted friends, hired private investigators, and visited different places, hoping someone had seen Amanda. Every passing day without news made the family's pain even deeper. Through it all, Zina continued acting like the devastated younger sister, crying in front of relatives, praying with her parents, and pretending to believe that Amanda would soon be found. No one suspected that she was hiding the truth behind those tears. Weeks slowly turned into months, and hope began fading from the hearts of those who loved Amanda. News of her disappearance spread across the city, and many people who had admired her at the university joined the search by sharing her photographs and offering prayers for her safe return. Her lecturers organized special moments of prayer on campus, while classmates refused to believe that someone as kind as Amanda could simply disappear without a trace. Mrs. Rebecca's health gradually declined because of the endless worry, and Mr. Williams looked years older than he had only a few months before. Yet, while one family continued to suffer, destiny was quietly preparing a miracle. One rainy afternoon, a kind middle-aged businesswoman named Mrs. Florence noticed Amanda sitting alone outside a small shopping complex, looking weak, tired, and hopeless. Something about the young woman touched her heart. She walked over, offered Amanda a warm meal, and gently asked about her story. Amanda, overwhelmed with emotion, explained everything she could remember without accusing anyone, simply saying that she had become separated from her sister during a trip and had been unable to find her way home ever since. Mrs. Florence listened carefully and immediately decided she could not leave Amanda to face the world alone. She took her into her home, treated her like a daughter, encouraged her to regain her strength, and promised that together they would do everything possible to find Amanda's family. Amanda's hope, which had almost disappeared, slowly returned. She never imagined that a complete stranger would become the reason she smiled again. Far away in the Williams mansion, however, Zina had become convinced that the past would never catch up with her. She believed Amanda was gone forever. She had no idea that every new day was bringing her sister one step closer to home, and when that day finally arrived, the truth she had hidden for months would shake the Williams family. Mrs. Florence refused to give up on Amanda's story. Although Amanda could not remember every detail of the journey that had brought her to the unfamiliar town, she clearly remembered her full name, the names of her parents, the university she attended, and the neighborhood where her family lived. Mrs. Florence believed that those small details were enough to begin searching. Over the following weeks, she made countless phone calls, visited different organizations, and spoke with people who might be able to help. She encouraged Amanda not to lose faith, reminding her that every difficult season eventually comes to an end. Little by little, Amanda regained her confidence. She began helping Mrs. Florence with simple tasks around the house, reading books again, and smiling more often. Even though she still missed her parents every single day, she never stopped believing that God would one day reunite them. Back at the Williams mansion, 3 long months had passed without any sign of Amanda. The once cheerful home had become painfully quiet. Mrs. Rebecca could no longer hide the sadness written across her face. She spent many nights sitting in Amanda's bedroom, holding her daughter's graduation photograph and praying for a miracle. Mr. Williams continued searching wherever a new lead appeared, refusing to accept that his daughter was gone forever. Friends, relatives, and former classmates visited regularly to comfort the family, but every visit ended with the same heartbreaking question: has Amanda been found? Through it all, Zina continued playing the role of the heartbroken younger sister. She cried with her parents, comforted them whenever they broke down, and even joined them during prayer. Yet whenever she was alone, she quietly convinced herself that Amanda would never return. She believed the secret she had buried in her heart would remain hidden forever, never imagining that the truth was already making its way back to the Williams mansion. One bright Saturday morning, everything changed. After months of searching, one of Mrs. Florence's efforts finally produced a breakthrough. Someone recognized the Williams family from the information Amanda had provided and helped confirm their address. Without wasting another moment, Mrs. Florence decided it was time to take Amanda home herself. As their vehicle drove toward the beautiful neighborhood where the Williams family lived, Amanda's heart beat faster with every passing minute. Tears streamed down her face as familiar streets began to appear before her eyes. She could hardly believe she was about to see her parents again after months of pain and uncertainty. At the same moment, inside the Williams mansion, the family had no idea that the miracle they had prayed for every day was only a few minutes away, and the person who would be most shocked by what was about to happen was not Mr. Williams nor Mrs. Rebecca, but Zina, whose carefully guarded secret was about to confront her face to face. The luxurious black SUV slowly came to a stop in front of the Williams mansion. Amanda stared through the window with tears streaming down her face. Every corner of the neighborhood brought back memories she thought she might never experience again. Mrs. Florence gently held her hand and smiled, reminding her that she was finally home. The security guard at the gate looked toward the vehicle, then suddenly froze. His eyes widened in disbelief as he recognized Amanda. Without wasting another second, he rushed into the mansion, shouting that Amanda had returned. At first, nobody believed him. Mrs. Rebecca stood up in confusion, while Mr. Williams hurried toward the entrance. The moment the front door opened and Amanda stepped into the compound, time seemed to stand still. Mrs. Rebecca screamed her daughter's name and ran toward her with tears flowing freely. She wrapped Amanda in the tightest embrace, unable to stop crying. Mr. Williams held both of them close, thanking God over and over again for bringing his daughter home safely. Members of the household staff gathered outside, many of them wiping tears from their faces as they watched the emotional reunion. Amanda introduced Mrs. Florence, explaining how the kind woman had taken her into her home, cared for her like a daughter, and refused to stop searching until she found her family. The Williams family thanked Mrs. Florence with grateful hearts, calling her an angel sent at the darkest moment of their lives. Standing a few steps away, Zina could barely breathe. The color drained from her face as Amanda slowly turned to look at her. For months, she had convinced herself that Amanda would never return. Now the sister she had betrayed was standing alive before her, smiling through tears. The weight of guilt she had hidden for so long became impossible to carry. Before anyone could ask a single question, Zina fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. Through broken words, she admitted that Amanda had trusted her completely, that she had lied about taking her somewhere important, abandoned her far from home, and returned pretending not to know where she was. She confessed that jealousy had blinded her because she could no longer bear hearing Amanda praised, while she was constantly corrected for refusing to take her education seriously. Every word left the family in stunned silence. Mrs. Rebecca broke down in tears as she realized that her constant comparisons, though meant to motivate, had helped deepen the hurt in Zina's heart. Mr. Williams stood speechless, overwhelmed by the pain of discovering that his own daughters had been torn apart by envy and misunderstanding. The mansion that had once echoed with celebration was now filled with silence and tears. Zina crawled toward Amanda, holding tightly to her sister's hands as she begged for forgiveness. She admitted that every fake tear she had shed during the 3 months Amanda was missing had become a painful reminder of the truth she was hiding. She confessed that she had lived in fear every single day, afraid that one day Amanda would walk through the front door. Amanda looked at her younger sister with tears in her own eyes. She remembered every childhood memory they had shared, every time she had protected Zina, and every prayer she had offered for her. Instead of responding with anger, Amanda gently lifted Zina from the floor and embraced her. She told her that what happened had caused unimaginable pain, but that choosing forgiveness would free both of them from the burden of hatred. Zina cried harder than ever before, promising her parents and Amanda that she would change her life, return to her studies, and become a daughter they could once again be proud of. Mrs. Rebecca embraced both daughters, asking for forgiveness for every comparison that had created distance between them, while Mr. Williams reminded the family that love could only survive where truth, humility, and forgiveness lived together. From that day forward, the Williams family slowly rebuilt the trust that had been broken. Amanda continued pursuing her dreams with the same humility that had always defined her, while Zina dedicated herself to becoming a better person, proving through her actions that genuine repentance is shown by a changed life. The story of the Williams sisters became a powerful reminder that jealousy never destroys only its target. It first destroys the heart that embraces it. Yet no matter how deep the wounds may be, sincere repentance, unconditional love, and forgiveness can begin to heal what once seemed impossible to restore. If you were Amanda, would you forgive your sister after everything that happened? Let us know your answer in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this powerful lesson today.
Thank you all for watching my videos. Please don't forget to support me by subscribing to my channel. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and share my videos. Drop your opinion on the comment section. If you are Amanda, will you forgive your sister Zina? Don't forget, parents should be very careful and learn from this story. All children are not the same. Some children are very naturally intelligent, while others are not like that. Love your children, all your children the same, and show them the same love. Encourage them. Thank you all.